Welcome to Pensare Basketball. Today, we are going to take a very level headed look at Scottie detractors, and we're going to ask them 9 questions that we all know they're never going to answer. But this is for you. If you have a person in your life who says that Scottie Barnes is not a good player, Scottie Barnes is not a first option, second option, third option, he's more like Ben Simmons, Draymond Green, Michael Carter Williams, Aaron Gordon. If you've ever heard someone in your life, those poor souls, refer to Scottie Barnes in this light, then this episode is for you because you are going to get 9 questions that are airtight, logical, that cannot be answered by a Scottie Barnes hater. Now, to those people who caught yesterday's live stream, it was a crash out. If ever there was a crash out, that was a crash out. Okay. It was not pretty. It was, a lot of yelling into the microphone for no reason whatsoever. And to be honest, I really should be a lot more composed. And in order to have a conversation like this, you do need to be pretty composed. So I'm glad that I had a good night. I hope you guys had a very good Thanksgiving. I hope you spent some time with family, that you're able to recharge and have a blessed, evening with your family and shit. So, Tariq saying, talk your shit, Rob. We ain't talking shit today, bro. We asking questions. We're asking questions today. And to anybody who thinks that maybe I'm just inventing it, right? Maybe I'm gassing it. There are no Scotty haters. It's just a very few people. I want you to read the comments. We're going to actually read them together under this post by Samson Folk. Now, I want to clarify for the record, because I got in trouble for this many times before. Samson is not a hater. He is not being charged as a hater. He is a basketball analyst and a very good one. And I am not in any way at all saying that he is the person that I am directing any of this towards. Some of his colleagues, however, are not are not immune from some of the criticism. However, I think that he made a post here which unintentionally or intentionally became a bit of a spark plug for a lot of Scotty piling on. Obviously, William Liu did their, Hello Welcome podcast yesterday. Josh Lewenberg citing some pretty ridiculous stats to prove his point that Scottie Barnes is a bum and all sorts of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff like this, man. There's a lot of quotes, a lot of tweets throughout, throughout Raptors history where, Josh Lewenberg would be like, oh, it would be great if Scottie Barnes didn't work half days. Things like this. Believe me, they're all saved in a little folder. And believe me, when Scottie Barnes becomes the player that I know that he's going to become, all of these are going to be subject to a documentary, in which case these people are really going to look foolish. However, the first and I think really only positive comment comes from my friend, actually, Lily. And, to those who don't know, Lily is, a positive voice around Raptorland and a very big Scottie Barnes defender. But going forward, I really hope he's not the next Ben Simmons. Why the fuck his jumper at Kyle Anderson speed? The fans are about to turn on him. 38 million with that kind of effort won't go unnoticed. That lack of interest in attempting to pressure the rim is scary. Obviously, it's preseason, but I haven't liked the process at all from him. Very limited sample though as well. Oh, I'm glad that he threw that last little bit in there. Merv, who consistently, tweets at me, it's getting out of hand. I'm trying to be patient. That kid Jacob said, this what it's come to, huh? Heartbroken. Ricky says, feels like he hasn't gotten to the rim at all this preseason. Vin Max saying, the shot selection is troubling. This person says, I'm forcing myself to believe this to be the case. Taking the George Springer route. Really hope so. Drew said he looks so bad, like so bad. So 3 so's. Wow. Bet on myself says the coach sucks. He's borderline unwatchable. Anything to cope. Raptor Moments, shout out to Raptor Moments, great content creator. You're getting emailed tonight, as if to say this is not something that Scotty fans and these psychos who think Scotty's actually not a bum. It's not something that they're going to let fly. So you're getting emailed tonight. You're going to get a lot of hate for this. There's always this sort of like thinly coded messaging around like, oh, you can't say anything about Scotty. What y'all been trashing him for 4 straight years, and apparently you can't say anything about him. He's the most criticized athlete in Toronto pro sports over the last 4 years. Mark my words on that. Alex said, what are you watching? Oh, I guess that's a positive comment. He has to be traded, says Z, and then he looks awful. So does IQ. What trash step back he keeps trying. It's so bad to watch. There's some spam comments. We probably shouldn't read them. He's frankly not good enough yet to think that way. Hope he plays well rest of the preseason. Okay. So it's not invented. Okay. I'm not inventing it. I read a lot of comments. I spend hours and hours, on Twitter, and maybe that's my biggest problem. Facebook comments. I promise you, the number of negative Scotty comments outnumbers positive comments 5 to 1, maybe 6 to 1. You would think the guy had like some sort of off-court scandal or has just been this big time bust, but truly, this is insane to me. So I'm gonna give you the playbook. I'm gonna give you the 9 questions that you need to ask Scotty haters. Okay, give me one sec here. I'm gonna pull it up. Here you go. Make this a little bit. Here we go. Here are the 9 questions. And I'm going to dissect every one of these, but I want to read them out first so that you have a nice little overview. And then we'll go through one by one why it's such a great question to ask. Number 1, if he is so bad, why is he always the first player going the other way when you want to trade for a superstar? This has been true for 4 straight years. The minute he won Rookie of the Year, trade him for Kevin Durant. The second year, trade him for Giannis. The third year, trade him for Dame. Now it's trade him for Giannis again. It's always the same thing. When you need a superstar, this is the only player on your roster, not RJ Barrett, not Emmanuel Quickly, not Brandon Ingram. This is the guy, not even Pascal Siakam. No, this is the guy that you guys think other GMs value. So the question then becomes, why do they value him and you don't? Number 2, a lot has been made of Scottie playing through injuries. This is true, right? We've heard hand injury, jumper's knee, tendonitis, ankle sprains. He's clearly showing you this guy has a very high pain threshold, and if he's able to walk, he plays. So it's fair to say Brandon Ingram, Vince Carter have been routinely slandered among, their prime when they were going through injuries for not playing through pain. Ingram has been maligned by the entire Pelicans media for taking too long to come back from things, not being, able to play through pain, not being tough enough, all this stuff that they said about Ingram. So the question then becomes, Kyle Lowry was routinely celebrated for playing through pain. So do you not want Scottie to play through hand injuries and jumper's knee? Or will you simply crucify him for being soft if he sits? This one deserves a bit of a deep dive, and you're going to get it. Number 3, you claim he's Ben Simmons. A lot of people say he's a Ben Simmons clone. He's Ben Simmons, blah, 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 blah. But the biggest criticism of Ben Simmons has been his reluctance to develop and take threes. So Ben Simmons has basically been the same player for 10 years. Okay. Basically, you can go right back to Montverde. You can go to LSU. There's really no growth in his game. He does the same thing all the time. There's been no growth with the jumper. He was reluctant to take threes. He wasn't willing to take jumpers in games. So once his quick twitch athleticism faded, which it always does, he had no counters because he hadn't developed. So the question really for you is, shouldn't you be happy that Scottie is trying to take threes? Because that's the one thing that Ben Simmons fans said he didn't do. Question number 4, for years, the media labeled Scottie as the problem with team chemistry. I think we all remember that, right? So why are the vibes so good the past 1.5 years since the Raptors became his team? Why did Brandon Ingram want to come here and say that Scottie was a huge reason why, and how, this team is really selfless and they, this beautiful team chemistry and everything? Why is it that 2 of the most maligned people in Raptors land, which is Darko and Scottie, are the biggest reasons why this culture has turned around? That culture is the biggest reason Brandon Ingram chose to be here. And yet Brandon Ingram is the one that y'all are saying, like, come on now. 5th question. Many prominent media members, I use the word prominent very lightly, stated that the Raptors drafted a project in 2021, a 0-level scorer. I think this was the common take. I think I was the only person that I can remember on record saying, I think he'll be NBA ready. Most people said, we'll have to wait 3 years, 4 years. He might average 6 points per game as a rookie. I can't believe we drafted Patrick Williams 2.0, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe he'll be good. Maybe he'll be, oh no, I can't believe we drafted Bruno Caboclo again. Do you want to go back and look at the draft night reactions? Those were the draft night reactions. He is a project. So 2 years later, they echoed some bullshit about him having an attitude, leadership, and work ethic issues. Okay. So the guy who became way better than you thought he was going to be ever, way quicker than you thought, has work ethic issues. So here's the question. He was a better player at 22, an all-star, than most people who cover this team thought he'd ever be. So one of these 2 has to be true. Was he the project who developed super fast because of his incredible work ethic? Or was he the ready-made superstar talent who was supposed to dominate the league and now he's lagging behind due to work ethic issues? I need you to pick a side. If you pick door number one, I need you to retract the work ethic stuff, the attitude stuff, the he doesn't work hard, needs a new trainer bullshit. If it's the second, then I need you to go back and tell me that the zero level scorer that you said was coming to Toronto was actually a superstar and he's underperforming. We don't we don't get mad at someone in grade 5 for not being able to pass a grade 11 calculus test for a reason, because grade 5s are not supposed to be passing calculus tests. Continuing on, Scottie's been maligned for his fourth year stagnation. A lot of people called last year a down year. His numbers were all down. But in that same year, he had his highest free throw rate, his highest pull up jumper rate, his best pick and roll efficiency, his highest mid range efficiency, played the best defense of his career, all the while playing on the worst team he's ever played with. All the while, his organization could not stop praising his off court development as a leader, speaker, and communicator. So, my question is, did he actually grow? Did he grow a lot and you just didn't notice it because you were too focused on 3-point percentage? Next question. Scottie came out like gangbusters in preseason 2 years ago and lit up the scoreboard. People at the time, coming off, the tough second year, said it didn't matter because it was preseason and nobody really tries hard in preseason. It doesn't really matter and wait till the games count. But now he's struggling in preseason. So is preseason important or is preseason performance not important? Or is it important when he does poorly and not important when he does well? Your bias is showing. Second to last question. Some in the media have been quick to call this Brandon Ingram's team after some highlight binging this summer and 2 preseason games. He is now the chosen one. But the same Brandon Ingram, who I love, by the way, has shot worse from 2 than Scottie the past 4 years during his prime, when Scottie was supposedly a zero level scorer, and has analytically registered a significantly lesser impact on winning than Barnes over the last 4 years. So much so that Barnes, in his 4 seasons, has a higher value replacement than Ingram has in 9 seasons. That is an impressive if you think Ingram is the franchise guy. But if Ingram is your chosen golden boy for this season, then I have questions. Do you feel the Pelicans media was too harsh when they said that he took forever to come back from injuries, settled for too many twos, didn't play hard, disappeared for long stretches of the season, lacked vocal leadership, wasn't willing to be the guy, didn't know how to fit in with the guy? Do you think that the 28 teams that refused to compete with your absolutely bullshit offer of 1 first and an expiring and the contract of Kelly Olynyk, do you think the teams that refuse to compete with that offer are stupid? It's a very valuable question. And the final question is, Scottie Barnes stabilized the defense last year. Defense is the end which most clearly measures effort. And he was by far the best defender on this team and has been for the last 2 to 3 years. So why then is he the guy who is most criticized for not caring about games or not bringing consistent effort? Is he lazy, or does defense not require effort? Okay, let's dig into some of these because I think they're good questions. So question number 1, if he's so bad, why is he the one always going out? Well, let me answer some of these questions because you won't. The hating ass media won't, so I will. Scottie is the most valuable piece on this team, and it's not close. He's worth more than your future first. He's worth more than multiple future firsts. And there are plenty of teams and plenty of general managers out there who see this guy as the guy. In fact, the best general manager in the league and the second best general manager in the league both wanted him. Well, president Masai Ujiri and Pelicans. I'm saying Pelicans. Wow, Sam Presti from the OKC Thunder both vied for this guy very strongly in 2021. They both wanted him. Now, OKC was not able to get him because ultimately the Raptors scooped him up, and that resulted in, I apologize, I was a little bit blurry there. That resulted in OKC taking Josh Giddey, and ultimately they wanted a big playmaker next to Shea. Ultimately, the next year they got their Scottie replacement in Jalen Williams. This is the guy that OKC wanted. They're a great scouting team. So teams value what he does. Maybe they don't value him as a superstar, Kawhi clone redux. But next to a Devin Booker, next to a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, next to a Pick one, literally, Donovan Mitchell. You can pick any, alpha scorer type of guard. This is the best possible player to put next to that guy. Now, I understand that what I'm sort of conceding here is that most general managers view him as a second option. And I get that. But second option is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Now, I personally think he's going to become a first option. And I think he's going to be great and all that stuff. But even if general managers view him as more of a second option, don't forget that that's how they view Brandon Ingram as well. In fact, most teams out there were looking at Brandon Ingram as a third option. Okay. So my point is that when you're looking at how to get Giannis to Toronto, KD to Toronto, this is the guy you always want to ship out. And the media has been very, very quick to just quickly say, okay, well, Scottie Barnes is the guy that we're going to send out and, we'll add a couple picks. So the question is, doesn't that mean he's super valuable? But if he's so valuable, why don't you value him? And the truth is, you don't like him. You don't like him. You'd prefer to build around a player with an archetype that you understand a little bit more. And that's the truth. The question of a lot being made about Scottie playing through injuries, etc. Here's the thing. Last year, uh, Scottie played through a lot of injuries, okay, and he took a lot of shit for his shooting slump. And Darko came out and said that he had a hand injury. Everybody in the Toronto media jumped on it with two main takes. Take number one, he's pushing for 65 games to make All NBA because of his max contract, super max contract. That was never the goal. That was never the stated goal. He probably had a goal in his own mind that he wanted to play a set number of games, and he made it. But that being said, there was no chance in hell he was going to make an All NBA team. He knew that. He could have looked at that, but he continued to play. He continued to play because him playing was very good for the offense and defense in terms of stabilizing everything. He was their best passer. He was their best defender. And it just allowed some of the pressure stuff that the Raptors wanted to do and develop. It allowed it to happen. And he just kind of coasted in terms of his stats. He didn't force feed anything. He didn't push for 40-point games against really bad teams that couldn't handle him. He didn't take a lot of shots that there weren't like any high volume scoring games where he took like 38 shots or something trying to stat pad his numbers a little bit. We saw no stat padding with Scottie Barnes last year at all. He didn't do any assist stat padding, rebounding stat padding. I know what stat padding looks like. I've been watching it my whole life. He didn't do any of that. So the truth is that Darko came out and said that he was nursing a hand injury, and William Liu specifically came out and said, well, I'm not calling Darko a liar, but, and then went off on a tangent about how Darko's basically covering up for Scottie, and you can't get a real honest answer from Darko. These comments are extremely dangerous because I don't know Darko to be a liar. I really don't. Now, granted, I don't know him that well, but I guarantee you I know him well enough to know that he's not a liar and that he's not a consistent liar, or that he's not somebody who's going to, like, he's political for sure. Everyone in this position has to be at least minorly political. But I don't think calling him a liar or implying that he's lying about Scott or inventing injuries for Scottie, I don't think that that's right. I mean, think about the optics of it. Think about what I'm saying here. Imagine if Scottie Barnes was not hurt, right? Just imagine, right? And the whole buy-in of this team, the culture is Darko is this honest guy. He's a straight up guy. Everybody cannot stop saying he's going to tell you the truth. He's going to bring the energy. He's always, honest with his players, et cetera, et cetera. I tell you, when he got here, my first thought, like, apart from like researching him like crazy because I knew a lot about him before, my first thought was like when he went like the positive route with Malachi Flynn and Dennis Schroeder, and he was just like glazing everyone positively and positively. My internal thought was like, I'm rooting for this guy, but he better not be fake. NBA players will sniff out if you're fake so quick. So imagine if Scottie's not hurt and then Darko goes to the media and says he is hurt. You're fake. You're immediately fake. The optics of it are insane. I mean, you're talking about a guy who noticeably is visibly holding his hand every other game and is like wincing at it. And you're implying doubt into his injury. You're saying it's not a real injury. Why do we do this? Like, what? Who the fuck are you to tell an athlete that he's not hurt? That's insane. And who are you to tell a coach that he's lying, or even to question the motivation of an athlete? Like, I understand that I myself questioned whether Fred was hunting for the bag, but he literally told us he was hunting for the bag. You know what I mean? Like, it was clear as day. But Scottie never came out and said, yeah, I want to make All NBA because I want a super max deal or whatever like that. And he certainly didn't play like it. And he bought into some of the bullshit lineups that the Raptors are putting him out there with. And he bought into a lot of the offensive process. I don't know a single person with half a brain cell who has his coach come up to him and be like, you know what? We need you to take shots that you're not good at. And I know your numbers are going to really tank. And I know you need this season to be a good season for you, but I promise you in 5 years, you're going to be better. If nothing else, you should be celebrating Scottie for taking that development year in a contract year because most players wouldn't. And that's the truth. Just be honest with yourself. If I told you tomorrow that next year, I'm going to do a work performance review for you, right? At this company that you work at, and let's just say you're a data analyst or whatever who's been dabbling into law or legal or HR, and you're a data analyst, and you're all your experiences in data analysis. And let's just say at the end of the year you get a 200% bonus if you do well. And are you going to agree to try your hand at HR in a development year as a learning entry position? No, because you're terrible at things when you start out on them. Everyone is. So the fact that Scottie agreed to that, I think, is a big testament to his character. No, like, am I crazy? It just seems pretty logical, right? The Ben Simmons stuff is just very lazy. Ben Simmons did not improve very much. He became a slightly better defender as he went on. His role expanded, but it was a quick flash in the pan, man. And Ben Simmons had all sorts of attitude issues, and even at LSU, there was concerns about like he thinks he's better than everybody and all that shit. Like, yeah, I mean, you can say maybe Scottie has a little bit of arrogance at times. Some people interpret, him telling off dad or beefing with Fred as arrogance. How dare you beef with vets? But to me, I think of these as very good qualities because Thaddeus Young hated Toronto and Fred VanVleet wanted to get paid and was trying to destroy the team. So for me, the fact that he clashed with these people is actually a really positive sign that he actually cares about his team enough to voice his concerns when things are going wrong. And nobody in 2021, when look, Masai came out and said this team was selfish. I told you for a year this team was selfish. The media now accepts that this team was selfish. But that same media was calling me crazy for saying it was selfish a year ago. The same people today who are just like, the Raptors had really bad team chemistry, they were not willing to acknowledge it in the moment. They were not willing to say it at the time. They didn't. They refused. They simply washed their hands of it. But the one person that I could always count on when I saw a really terrible, selfish play that was void of basketball logic and was clearly stat padding, the only person I could ever look to, the two people actually I could look to on the court that always had the same reaction to that play as me were OG and Scottie. Always these two. When Fred and Pascal were pulling off their bullshit, when Thaddeus Young was doing his bullshit, when Precious Achiuwa, Chris Boucher, whoever, no disrespect. When the people were doing stupid shit, it was always OG and Scottie who always expressed it, always looked kind of disconnected from their teammates, always talked about it in a huddle. And they just felt like they were on a different side of things. And, people who covered the team could definitely vouch for the fact that at that time there were cliques forming. There were three distinct cliques forming in the locker room. And Scottie, in my opinion, was on the side of this team is selfish. So Masai Ujiri comes out and says this team is selfish, trades away Pascal, OG, trades away, lets Fred walk. That's the guy who knew them the best. You think you know better than Masai? The guy who has emotional attachment issues and was crying about trading Pascal, you don't think if it could have worked with Pascal, if it could have worked with Fred, that he would have tried to make it work? Those dudes didn't want to make it work. They didn't want to be here. So you want to hate on the guy who did want to be here? I mean, shit, after his second year, couldn't Scottie have done the same thing that Kuminga did? I'm not getting enough touches. They don't value me. I don't like my role here. You never heard anything out of Scottie like he might demand a trade. He might try to force his way out. He never did. And he's an all-star. What's Toronto's track record of keeping all-stars? Oh, right. You haven't kept a single one. Kawhi left. Bosch left. Tracy McGrady left before he became one. Vince demanded a trade out. Do y'all realize all-stars don't typically like to stay here because all-stars usually have options? It's the role players. It's the Pops Mensah-Bonsus and the Jerome Williams. It's those guys who like to stay here because they get celebrated by a fan base that can't see anything but hustle. But that's the truth, right? Like, that's the point. Moving on to, for years, the media labeled Scottie as a problem. Yeah, like, leadership reflects attitude, in my opinion. If the attitude in Toronto was really bad in 2021, I think that reflects poorly on the leaders. If the attitude was a problem, if the development was a problem, I think that speaks poorly on the coaching staff that this media space vehemently defended. And it speaks volumes about the leaders in the locker room. Now, those leaders politely, kindly, maliciously leaked little tidbits to Josh Lewinberg for years about Scottie Barnes, how he's the problem. He is the problem. Of course, he was the problem. He's the problem, right? Scottie Barnes is the problem because he's the one voicing his displeasure at your selfish ass basketball. Of course, he's the problem. When you're doing something wrong, when you're committing a crime, and somebody comes up and says, please stop committing the crime or I'll call the cops, that person's the problem because we're all committing the crime. Why are you? We're looting. Why are you calling the cops? But the person who's calling the cops is in the right. You're the one committing the crime. So history very kindly speaks to Scottie Barnes being on the right side of history every single step of the way. So to the point of, was he a project or was he a star? Masai Ujiri came out and said things are happening a lot faster than expected with Scottie. When he became Rookie of the Year, that was not expected. Internally, the Raptors did not expect him to come out and win Rookie of the Year. They didn't expect him to be this ready. They expected him to start. Internally, I heard conversations about maybe he'll play 25, 26 minutes a game. Maybe he'll get 9 points, 8 points, work on his threes a little bit, be a high motor defender. But he came out, scored 15 points per game, and won Rookie of the Year. How? Because he worked insanely hard from his rookie season, from the end of his Florida State season to his rookie season beginning. He worked himself into a frenzy. This is a guy who didn't take a minute off, and I have so many sources that could verify he took maximum a week off in that entire stretch. This is a guy who is very hard worker, and Masai saw it. There's no way the Toronto Raptors hand the keys to their franchise to a guy who has real work ethic issues. There's no way in hell that a guy who's supposed to be a zero level scorer becomes an all-star within 2 years without insane work ethic. You can't do what he did without work ethic. You just can't. So the question is, was he a project? Yes, he was a project. I watched him at Florida State. He was absolutely a project. He could barely score in the half court. He had, handle issues. His handle was high. His jump shot was inconsistent. And while you may argue that all of those things are still persistent problems, they are way less of a problem today than they were 3-4 years ago. And that is a testament to hard work. So yes, he was a project. Yes, he developed faster than he was supposed to. And yes, we are still in that development phase. He's not a ready-made product right now. So dismiss me with that bullshit. The fourth year stagnation stuff is just totally bullshit. If you actually watch the games, if you watch the process of the offense, you can definitely understand that pull-up jumpers from 28 feet are not his bread and butter, and definitely not something that he thinks he's great at. But the fact that he's willing to do these things in a contract year where results matter more than anything, and he's willing to sit out games where clearly him playing in the fourth quarter or playing a different role might have resulted in a win, in order for the organization to tank, many star players don't fuck with this. They're just like, nah, you're messing up my game too much. The Warriors want Jonathan Kuminga to buy into a role he refuses to buy in. The OKC Thunder wanted Josh Giddey to buy into a role he didn't know how to buy into. There's so many players from Scottie's draft class that are in this situation that have already changed teams because, simply put, they didn't fit. I think that he made a lot of progress last year. I was very impressed with him. Obviously, you'd like him to shoot a little bit better from three. You would like him to get to the basket a little bit more. You would like him to cut down on turnovers a little bit, but this is nitpicking. Overall, the process through how he scored last year was totally distinct. And yeah, he could have scored a little bit more. In transition, he's taking a pull-up jumper. He's not a moron. He's a super high IQ basketball player. Obviously, he can go right to the rim, but taking the development rep over the winning rep right now is him trusting Darko to make him a better player and trusting the process that at some point, all of this grinding and all of this inefficient play is going to eventually result in Scottie becoming what I think he is supposed to be and walk into his destiny as a superstar. And again, the superstar shit doesn't just happen in the offseason. You would be crazy to use all season, which is 7 months of the year, to just do things that you're good at and just only focus for 5 months on the things you're not good at. People will often say, that's what the offseason's for, Rob. Well, what if you're not a team with title aspirations? What if you're not a team that has any realistic chance of title aspirations? Then wouldn't it make sense to develop 12 months of the year instead of 5 months of the year? Wouldn't that make a lot more sense? If you're hoping to compete by 2026, 2027, 2028, whenever that window is where Scottie enters his prime, wouldn't it help you if you got to his prime a year sooner because you sped up his development? I think that's all the Raptors have wanted to do. They wanted to speed up his development, and they're trusting that at some point, a 6'8", super smart computer with crazy wingspan, high motor, and really good character and really good leadership is eventually going to break through as the most important player on a championship contender. And I trust them 100%. So the stagnation stuff is just crazy. The preseason stuff, even more crazy, right? And this is just where bias is exposed, right? Bias is so interesting. You can spot bias in a million different ways. I'll give you an example of bias on the panel, right? So, not to talk shit about my employers, but it's worth saying that very often I can say one thing, right? And I'll be jumped 5-on-1. And a couple of weeks later, I'll see Mars or Swiper or Ox say something very similar, if not word for word identical. And people just let it go. People just, it's okay. That's okay now. That's a bias. That's a bias. That's what it is. That's how we test for bias. If you want to know if you are racially biased, not racist, but racially biased, then the resume of the person that you're interested in shouldn't get better or worse if the person who walks in is a different color than you were expecting. If the person, writes their name as Tim Collins and you're like, Tim Collins sounds great, but then Tim Collins walks in and Tim Collins is a Lebanese immigrant, if you suddenly feel like Tim Collins is now a worse applicant, that's a racial bias. If Tim Collins is the perfect hire and Tim Collins walks in and Tim Collins happens to be short for some female name and you don't want to hire Tim Collins anymore because Tim Collins is a woman, that's a bias. These are biases. And biases exist in all people. And I think people need to own up to those biases. And I think the Raptors media space has a bias towards hockey. And what do I mean by that? Does that mean that they only want to see hockey? No, they don't only want to see hockey. They're happy that the Raptors exist. I'm sure some people are happy the Raptors exist. I'm sure some people are happy that the Blue Jays exist and the Argos exist and other sports exist. But for these people, the Maple Leafs are king. Hockey is king. Canadiens, Oilers, Flames. This is how they grew up consuming sport. And so you have to ask yourself the question, does consuming hockey, a very tough sport, a very physical sport, a sport where people consistently lose their teeth and make very little money for it and play a ton of games and are always sprinting, and everything's about sprinting as fast as you can and everything's about effort. I don't know a lot about hockey, but from what I've watched, the best players seem to skate a lot faster than those, the worst players. How weird is it to watch basketball through the lens of a hockey fan? And I think I have actually approached the crux of the problem. I remember Andrea Bargnani won't rebound. I remember Vince Carter won't dunk. I think once you show this city that you have a physical ability to do something, whether that's dunk, whether that's post up, whatever, they want you to do that ad nauseum forever. They want you, Vince Carter, you can dunk over everyone. Why are you taking threes? Never mind the amount of work and skill that Vince took to become the great three-point shooter that he did. Jack Armstrong once said on a live broadcast, I don't know if he cares about basketball. He's got a ticker problem. I don't know if he cares about basketball. That quote was, I believe, included in a documentary about Vince, and it just kind of made me sick because it reminded me of the first time I heard it. And there's a lot of stuff like that was said about Vince by people in the Toronto media at the time, Doug Smith, guys like this. And it's never quite shaken me how the guy that supposedly didn't care about basketball played basketball until he was 44 years old and barely could stop holding on, who is a lifer in basketball, who's played basketball pretty much since grade 5 religiously, who became way better than anyone in the world could have expected when he walked onto a campus in North Carolina, who became one of the greatest shooters in NBA history, despite coming into high school with a concern that he couldn't shoot. That to me is a story. Now, did Vince achieve his greatness? No. I remember Kevin O'Neill once telling me that he thought Vince Carter had the potential to be the best defender in the NBA, but he just didn't care about defense enough, and that was Vince's biggest problem. He said if Vince was a top five defender, Vince would be a top five player of all time. And that's what he said at the time. I remember KO and I had this conversation. So my point here is Scottie Barnes should appeal to hockey fans. He's a crash test dummy. He's very physical. He's extremely rowdy. He has a lot of attitude, a lot of pep. He's definitely not soft. He's built like a brick shit house. He never comes in out of shape. So why? Why does why does he not appeal to the hockey crazed media? Why does he not appeal to the Bob McCowans and the JD Bunkuses and the Sid Sixeros? Why does he not appeal to these people? And my honest to goodness answer is it's probably cultural. They don't like him. They don't like the way he talks. They don't like the way he mumbles through answers. They got a bad impression of him. They've probably seen some autism tweets and, secretly wonder themselves at their stupid dinner tables with their stupid ass families. They probably wonder if that's possibly true. They've heard concerns about work ethic issues and they've decided to label the guy as this and that. They've heard that he was off the table for Kevin Durant, and somehow that made him one of the most hated players coming off of his rookie of the year. The idea that the Raptors would not trade him in a trade for Kevin Durant, but they were dangling Pascal, Fred, made a lot of people look at him like a Nepo baby. It made people look at him like he was being given something that he had not earned. And once people saw that Fred and Pascal were frustrated, they said, well, these guys won a championship with us. This guy's new. I hate this guy because he's making the old guys leave. And the truth is, Scottie never made Fred or Pascal leave. In fact, he was very upset at both times, right? So the race card is really stretching it. Is it? When you have a media who's calling Dwight Howard a thug, I don't think anything is a stretch at that point. And I didn't say race, I said culture, because certainly they have no problem with Fred VanVleet. They have no problem with anyone who can code switch, but I think they have a lot of problems with someone who keeps it very real. And wait till the honeymoon period ends with Brandon Ingram. You think it's bad enough that Brandon Ingram told Doug Smith to pause, again, like this sort of weird thing that happens every single year in Raptors land where we compare Scottie to Pascal, Scottie to KD, Scottie to Dame, Scottie to, RJ last year, all year for no fucking reason. Now we're going to compare RJ to Brandon Ingram Scottie to Brandon Ingram all year. This is pointless. So that's my live for you. Those are the 9 questions. These 9 questions on your screen. Ask these questions, ask any one of these questions and watch any Scottie hater gasp for air. They won't have answers to this because they don't have answers for this. They can't have answers to this, right? They can't have answers to why he's analytically stronger than Brandon Ingram. They also can't answer why the Raptors media, were pretty uniformly against the Brandon Ingram trade. Josh Lewinberg ripped it to shreds. Michael Grange did not like it, but now suddenly Brandon Ingram is like the greatest thing since sliced bread, and he's like this number 1 top guy, and we're going to invent him. Y'all need to understand the pump and dump. I worked at a hedge fund. I know all about pump and dump. Okay. The pump and dump is very serious. And it's very obvious when people are doing it. They did it with Vince, did it with Andrea, did it with Bosch, did it with Lowry, did it with DeRozan, did it with Kawhi, doing it to Scottie Barnes. Here's how the pump and dump goes, my friends. On the way up, they will say a lot of really, really, really great things about you. Okay. All the things you're going to be, all the things they think you're going to be, all the things you've done, all the wonderful qualities that you have. Scottie is so positive. Scottie's always such a great teammate. Scottie's such a hard worker. Scottie won Rookie of the Year. Scottie's amazing. He's the next Giannis. He's this, he's that. Oh, he's not a 0-level scorer. Oh, he can hit threes. He's so tough for coming back in the playoffs. I can't believe it. He was in a walking boot 2 days ago. Joel Embiid crushed his ankle, but now he's back. See, super tough guy. He's Wolverine. I remember a media person telling me, like, he's Wolverine, man. How'd he come back? That same guy, a year later, is none of those things. It's like it never happened. Never won Rookie of the Year. It never happened. He's just he's a bum. He's malcontent. He's butting heads with the veterans. He's not a good guy. Every coach he's ever had said he's the best guy ever coached. great for team chemistry, hugged all his teammates, nicest guy ever, no problems. But have a tough year with Fred VanVleet, underperform a little bit, there goes the dump. Next year, pump it up, And what did Joe Budden say? Pump it up. Okay, pump it up, right? So we got all-star year, 3-point shooting progression. Oh my God, here comes the Kawhi Leonard thing. Pump. And then we make the trade. His numbers sag a little bit. Nobody cares. Nobody notices. People are like, whatever, the season's over. But then it comes out next year, and people have the built-in expectation that with way worse teammates, no Pascal, no Schroeder, now playing with Davion Mitchell, that somehow he's going to take a leap forward. But his teammates got way worse. His spacing got way worse. His role got way more difficult. His shot diet changed. So now he's not an all-star anymore. The all-star season is faded away. Now it's time to dump. So right now, they're dumping. They're continuing the dump cycle. But let him come out and average 22 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, something like that for like 2-3 weeks, and they'll pump again. They will pump again. And this time the pump will be a joint pump, because it'll be a pump for like, look at how much easier Brandon Ingram is making Scottie Barnes' life. They won't even give him credit for it. They won't say, wow, what a sacrifice. He's happily moved over as the leading shot taker on the team, even though he wasn't leading shot taker at any point in his life. RJ was the leading shot taker last year, but whatever, we'll ignore that, right? You'll never give him the credit. You'll always give him the blame. The pump and dump continues and continues and continues. And I, for one, don't like it. I don't like it at all. Anyways, quick update. Tomorrow we will be doing a live. So the Raptors' next preseason game is Wednesday. Then they play their final preseason game on Friday. That will be Brandon Ingram's Toronto debut, and that will be against Brooklyn. I cannot remember offhand who they are facing on Wednesday, but I think it's a pretty bad team. I can't remember. However, tomorrow we have a treat for you guys. We are moving away from the Scottie Barnes topic. I know. Phew, thank God. And we are diving headfirst into Chucky Heburn. We're going to look at film. We're going to look at some plays from, oh, my bad. I said it's a bad team. Boston. I assume Boston will rest a lot of players, but we've already played Boston once. We beat them, so we'll see. So tomorrow, we'll be digging into Chucky Heburn with Ersan Demir. It was supposed to happen today. Ersan couldn't make it today, so we're doing it tomorrow at this time, around this time. Tomorrow, 24 hours from now, Ersan and I will break down Chucky Heburn, collegiate basketball. I happen to think that this guy is really good. From what I've seen in preseason, he is probably the best Raptors point of attack guard defender. And I think he's been the most impressive rookie. Like, shout outs to Colin Murray Boyles. I understand he's the lottery pick and all that stuff. CMB has been awesome. But Chucky Heburn has been totally amazing. And I think I just see it with this guy. Like, I think I just see it in his process. I think I see it in his vision. I think I just see it in his work ethic, his grind. He's got mentions off. You know what I mean? Like, he is just a really, really good underdog story, I think. And this city needs to rally the shit around him. And you know what? He'll probably get some G League reps next year. I'm sure he will. Right. And I'm looking forward to that too. I sometimes struggled last year to watch the 905. I thought their point guard play was pretty terrible at times until, Jamal Shed was playing. So it'll be nice to see that. And honestly, the gap between Shed and Hepburn, and I don't want to do this whole like Chucky Hepburn versus Jamal Shed, crap. They're very different players. They can happily play together. The gap between them is not very large. And that's very interesting. And I was thinking to myself, if the Raptors ever did move off of quickly, for, I don't know, a big or, power forward or something like a Lauri Markkanen trade or something like that, might Chucky Heburn and Jamal Shed be like the Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry comp, right? If either one, especially if both, can start shooting like respectable percentages from three, there's really nothing stopping either one of these guys. They're both pesky on-ball defenders. They're both actually pure point guards who run the show, who make good, efficient passes. I really like them. Yeah. What's going on with Troy? It's not hating to say a fact because you want to glaze someone. Lucky basketball is not just scoring, and BI has never been the guy. BI has proven he can be an elite scorer, especially in the playoffs. So we'll see. Well, here's the thing, man. Brandon Ingram is one of my favorite players. I was very happy when he got traded here. I am blissfully aware that Brandon Ingram has not been necessarily a great playoff player. If you want any evidence of that, you can check his last playoffs. Like, this is fair. Ingram did play in the tougher conference. Sure. But he also played with Zion Williamson at times. He also played with Trey Murphy, Dyson Daniels. There's a lot of players, man. There's a lot of talent that he's had over there that exceeds the talent of Jakob Hurtle and Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett. Like, I can make an argument Scottie's the best player he's ever played with, but he's played with LeBron and Zion, dude. Like, I know the LeBron minutes were like it was 7 or 8 games, but still, like, he's played with some really talented players. So I'm expecting a career year for both these players, Ingram and Scottie. I expect both of them to have career years. I expect both of them to be very, very good and very efficient this year. And I wouldn't read too much into anything that you see from Scottie Barnes in preseason. He's going to be fine, guys. He's going to be fine. I'm positive he's going to be fine. I know what the intent is with this guy. I know how good he is. And I know in this situation with Ingram, provided there isn't some major clash of chemistry with, the lineup, like sometimes the IQ Scottie minutes kind of look awkward. I think the Raptors can be really good. And you know what? Stated goal of running in transition, they've been doing it a lot. The stated goal of pressure defense, they've been doing it a lot. And it's won them a lot of games so far. So even though they're not necessarily playing optimal lineups, even though they haven't played Jakob Poeltl a single minute, and imagine if Jakob Poeltl had played against Denver. You don't think the upgrade from Yak to Jonathan Mobo would have won you that game? I think when you lost the game by 4 points. I think with Jakob Poeltl, you probably win that game. You'd be 4-0 in preseason. And allegedly, these games matter. So, let them know. Slim Creeper saying, Pensar, you better be right because I've been waiting on Scottie. This is my last year giving him the benefit of the doubt. Bro, can I please contextualize something for you? The dude won Rookie of the Year and became an all-star at the age of 22. He was a project. Why are we talking like I'm telling you to wait on Bruno Caboclo, bro? Like, this is my question for you and everyone who talks like you, because I hear this shit 100 times a day. Waiting on what? Waiting on who? What are you waiting on? 28 points, 15 rebounds, 12 assists. I never said he was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I never said he was Wilt Chamberlain. I didn't say he was LeBron James. I said he was going to be a superstar. I don't get it. What the fuck do you want from him? He averages more points through his first 4 years than Giannis, Kawhi, Scottie Pippen, Jimmy Butler, literally any player you could have compared him to on the upside. He's done more than those players. What do you want from him? He has a higher value of a replacement on his career than the guy that you think is better than him in Brandon Ingram. And despite playing almost 250 fewer games, what are we doing here? This is not a player that is some sort of terrible player that I'm like, just wait, he'll be good. He's already good. What are you doing? Maybe I should take this as a compliment, because if you ain't seen nothing yet, then what you're telling me is that a dude who put up 23, 9, and 7 for an entire month, that was nothing to you. A guy who on his career in head-to-head matchups with LeBron James, by the way, averages 26 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 stocks. That dude in head-to-head matchups, nothing, right? That's nothing. The guy who held Steph Curry to the worst game of his career, nothing. The guy who locked up Giannis to his lowest scoring percentage last year, lowest scoring game. Giannis does not score less than 20 points, my friends. He scored 12 against the Raptors. That was on Scottie. The guy who, by the way, participated in you sweeping the Orlando Magic last year, locked up Paolo at every time he got him on him. He was locking him up. That dude has done nothing for you. What are we doing? You know what? I'll give you one final thing before I get out of here. And yes, it is going to be a stat. I like stats. Stats cut through a lot of the noise. They cut through a lot of the bullshit. So let me, in fact, show you what we're talking about here. Give me 1 second here. So, LeBron James. Shit. Sorry, my bad, guys. Here's their head-to-head data. This is like what they've done in the games that they've actually played against each other. So, where's the head-to-head? Head-to-head. Here we go. In their head-to-head matchups, LeBron James has scored 29 points, 7.7 rebounds, 7.3 assists. He has 2 stocks. He has almost 4 turnovers. Scottie Barnes, on the other hand, is averaging 26 points, 9.7 rebounds, and nearly 6 assists, while averaging only 2 turnovers and also 2 stocks. But he's trash, right? W growth for you. Very few people, in my opinion, very few people will ever concede that a point has been made when they're on the opposite side of it. What you just did right here is what I hope everyone can do. Every person who thinks this way needs a reality check once in a while, right? So, yeah. Anyways, man, I'll talk to you all later. Enjoy, and don't believe the tom-toms, don't believe the bullshitters and whatever. Honestly, make up your own mind. Go watch him play. Go watch him play and determine for yourself what matters. And I think I should leave you with a final thing, actually, because this is something that I wrote out, and it was just about something. Let's call it like what you focus on expands, right? Now, I've always believed this. I've always believed this, that if you seek opportunities, you will find opportunities. That if you seek uh, consensus, you'll find consensus. If you seek dissenting opinions, you'll find dissenting opinions. You tend to find more of what you're looking for. The example that I often will give people is okay, I'll give you an example right now. I'll prove it to you. I will actually prove it to you. I'm gonna put my Tony Robbins hat on for a second. Okay. I want you to close your eyes right now. Close your eyes. Just do this with me, man. Close your eyes. Now tell me every single thing in your environment. No, wait. No. Open your eyes. I messed up. Yo. Open your eyes. I messed up. Okay. I want you to scan your room. Scan around everywhere you're looking, office, wherever, subway, wherever you are. I want you to look and find everything red. Everything red. Red everywhere. Look for whatever you can see that's red. Keep looking. Scan it all. I can tell you I have a zombie figurine, a Michael Jordan figurine, a Jurassic Park figurine. I have a GameCube controller. I have a button on here. Okay, cool. You find everything that's red. I got this thing, which is like, to clean screens and shit. That's partially red. Okay. Now, close your eyes. Actually close your eyes this time and tell me what was blue. What was blue? Remember what was blue. You can barely think of anything. Now open your eyes and now look for everything that's blue. There's probably 50 blue things around you. My point is simple. What you look for, you find. So I said on X, according to many fans, Scottie apparently doesn't care about preseason. He just casually plays through tendonitis, scores 10 points, grabs 12 rebounds and 3 steals in 21 minutes, and leads all players to plus 22. I guess he did that while not caring. He's just casually in street clothes, on his feet, screaming defensive coverages the whole game when he's out, right? So what you focus on expands. Locks up Giannis and Steph? No, we're not going to focus on that. He didn't make it past the half court on one possession. We're going to focus on that, right? He averages 26, 9, and 6 with 2 stocks versus LeBron. And we're not going to focus on that. He only scored 17 points per game last year against the Wizards. We'll focus on that. He's routinely been among the league leaders in distance traveled while guarding 1 through 5. We're not going to focus on that. But he was crying to the refs about a missed call. We're going to focus on that. So I watched Fred and Pascal cry for foul, settle for tough shots, not make it back into the play after falling out of bounds on a drive. I watched it for years. I never saw anyone in the city get consistently picked apart for doing these things until Scottie showed up. And again, it's the Vince Carter thing. Vince Carter wanted to attend his graduation. If you want to think about it, that's a great, great gesture. Care about education. You got one of the biggest athletes in NBA history saying, yes, it's game 7, but I need my degree. That's a great message for the young kids. Vince Carter doing that, I've shared this before, was the reason that I continued on in university and got my degree, even though my mom passed away when I was in the second year and I had a lot of strong inclinations to not continue. I said, no, this was a promise that I made to my mother. Vince kept his promise. I'm going to keep mine. So this is a good thing. Unless, of course, you're looking for reasons to call him soft, in which case he's a mama's boy. Caring about your mother is a good thing. In general, in life, a man who shows you that they care about their mother, shows you that they can care about their teammates is a good thing. But no, it's Michelle's parking spot and he's spoiled and he's this. This media is very backwards and very toxic. And I believe that if you allow them to, they will spin your head into a pretzel. Anyways, I'll talk to you all later. Enjoy. And I cannot wait for the Airson Live tomorrow with Chucky Heburn. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And, turn on notifications so you definitely don't miss it. I'll talk to you all later. Peace. Bye-bye. Oops, I almost left